Hey friends, this is Cameron Sanders, also known as Renaissance Cyclist. I'm here at Red Shirt Cabin number 4 in Alaska, just south of what a lot of you think of when you think of the Iditarod Trail. I'm here to give you a kind of a review and a backstory on this bike and why I've decided to offer semi-custom bikes to folks. I will be the first to say that this is a project of love and of a desire that, you know, since basically 2010, when I was first getting into fat bikes and bikepacking, you know, a lot of the things that has come across on this bike have been things I've just been waiting for and waiting for and waiting for, and I keep saying, you know, next year something will come out like that. Next year, something will come out like that. And I've been growing as a rider and refining what it is exactly that I've been looking for. So I've been on the search for a long time for the bike you see here. And I wouldn't be offering or be in a position to try and work with a bunch of other people to make this project a reality if somebody else already did it. You know, again, I didn't get into this with the expectation of, hey, I want to sell bikes. That's never been my goal. I've just worked really hard with a lot of other people that work really hard to design a bike to meet certain goals. And when we produced this bike and started testing this bike, we said, hey, we're really on to something here, and we're really filling a need that nobody else is addressing in the industry. It's so steep. It's hard to walk up it. Well, obviously I live up in Alaska, so I deal with adverse conditions. So that does shape me as a rider and what I like and my choice in bike selection. Every bike that I own or build or work on, for me personally, has to fulfill a goal of being able to go on these big backcountry adventures. You know, if you've followed the channel a long time, you've seen me whenever I was a park ranger. I've worked in public lands for over a decade. You know, I started off surveying caves. Caving was my gateway sport. You know, I came to Alaska not to ride bikes, but to be an alpinist. And because of, you know, catastrophic knee injuries, I could no longer really do mountaineering or climbing or the normal backpacking that I loved. Biking came to me as a way to get into the backcountry, and that has ever since then affected my selection in choice of bike. So every bike that I own has to go through a litmus test of, can I take it into adventurous conditions? You know, when I first got this bike, I eventually came back to Mark and I was like, I don't know what this is. It's an expedition rig. You know, it floats in between a bunch of different things, and it takes the best parts of a bunch of different disciplines, and fuses them with a laser focus on adventure. My time in Alaska made me really love single track mining roads, really nasty type 2 fun bike packing. And for the longest period of time, I just wanted my fat bike. So all I needed was a mountain bike. That's all I wanted to bike pack with. You know, moving to Eastern Oregon, working as a public affairs officer with the Malheur National Forest around the time of the occupation, you know, I started doing really long gravel rides, which up until that point just wasn't appealing to me. But I didn't have single track in my backyard. That particular forest had over 10,000 miles of old roads. The maintenance crew was like 3 people, so the roads were just dead and dilapidated and frankly amazing. You could spend an eternity there riding and never see the same place twice. And I really got hooked on these like weaving goat trails where I can find single track and just nasty mining, logging roads. I became addicted. And then, you know, I started doing routes like the Baja Divide and the Tour Divide and looking at routes like the Silk Road. These routes are traditionally seen as mountain bike routes. You know, I took my fat bike to ride the Baja Divide, and it was a blast. It was amazing, and you know, I had no regrets taking my fat bike. That being said, I started thinking and writing down and doing sketches and looking at components and thinking about, you know, what would the ideal bike be for this sort of environment. And I just kept going back to drop bars and gravel style. A lot of gravel style geometry melded with some other disciplines. Just thought that that would be the ideal rig for those kinds of environments. When I built this bike, I had no intention of having it out here during an Alaskan winter. I didn't think that I'd even use it in the winter. It would just get put away for 6 months of the year when there's snow on the ground, and I'd just go back to my fat bike. That's the way it's always been, living in Alaska. Half the year's fat bike time. I have put more miles on this bike this winter than any of my fat bikes, which, again, was not my intention, and it's just astounding. It's that capable in adverse conditions. You know, I was thinking about the geometry of this bike right after I got, and during riding the Baja Divide, right after I got back and during that. And there's a lot of sand on that route. And I was thinking about the Tour Divide and where people, you know, bail or quit or suffer the most. And that's when, you know, the drivetrain gets gunked up with mud and they're spinning out, and, you know, there's chances for snow. And, you know, I've been building a 1,000-mile route in Eastern Oregon now for the last 6 years, and I've been snowed on in June every single time I go down to work on it. So tire volume, being able to run a 3-inch wide tire with some of the new tires on the market, there are some tires that are pretty much gravel bike tires in 2.8 to 3-inch wide capacities. There's some good 2.6-inch tires and 29ers out there that would also make a great adventure expedition drop bar tire. I was thinking about stay length and the longer stays for stability in adverse conditions and stability over the entire day. And when you're doing really long days and your mind's just zoning out or elsewhere, you know, having a bike that feels the same, whether you're going up or down or all around, those were things that were major considerations for this bike. This bike is a 530 millimeter long stays. The bike that's coming out that Mark and I are producing will come with 500 millimeter long stays. You know, we tried as long as we thought was necessary, and then we kind of dialed it back in to hit the sweet spot. The longer the stays are, the more stable the bike is. You know, obviously there's not a perfect bike, and every geometry choice comes at a cost. And, you know, I'm sure that probably a lot of you are thinking, the industry has been going shorter stays for a long time now. So why are we going in the opposite direction? Well, long stays don't really win any parking lot tests. If you go out and test ride a bike outside of a bike shop, in a parking lot, you know, a long stay isn't going to be the most confidence-inspiring bike. It's going to feel kind of sluggish isn't the right word, but it doesn't feel snappy. It feels that way because it's going to perform very consistently over a lot of different scenarios. It's going to add a lot of stability. Short stays are really snappy. When people jump on a short stay bike, they just feel more fun. If you're going to go ride for 5, 10, 20, 30 miles on your local single track, whatever you do, a snappy stay bike is going to feel really fun. I have a short stay bike and I love it. That's not what I want when I'm riding the Baja Divide. That's not what I want when I'm riding the Tour Divide. And it's not what I want when I'm out here doing, you know, a 25, 30 mile loop in the snow, whether it's a fat bike or a gravel bike. But that longer stay and the way that this bike is designed puts my weight in the center of the bike. It distributes the load across the wheels much more evenly. It allows me, with these mid-fat tires, to lower my PSI to a point where I can still get traction. You know, these conditions, 35, where in a world where there's feet of snow, is not a world I would have ever expected riding drop bars and mid-fat tires. Ever. I'm shocked even still, just right now, that I was able to pedal here. That was not an intention of this bike. It just goes to show you what a choice in geometry can yield for you in regards to cycling through adverse conditions. There's a whole new cockpit from bar, stem, and how the bags mount that I designed completely from the ground up. That's just about ready to launch, and I'll do a whole separate video about all of that. And this is an inverted fork design that I've been working on. There's still a lot more work to get this to a functional state, but I do have a Expedition carbon fork that's coming out, and there's a lot of monster gravel forks on the market that have been coming out within the last year, and most of them still top out at 2.2 inch wide tires. The fork that we'll be releasing is a carbon fork that has a 425 axle to crown, a real gravel bike axle to crown, which is important to get this bike ride, and it can accommodate a 27 by 3.0 tire and a 29 by 2.6 inch tire. These bikes are made in the United States. MAHALL is based out of Southern Washington, so we're looking to sell them assembled, and we're working with a lot of partners very closely to offer components that you wouldn't find normally spec'd on a bike. Intro cost to this bike, and wheels are made in the United States. Paul clampers come on this bike. Brakes made in the United States. The cockpit that we're designing is going to be made in the United States. This full bespoke bike with custom bag kit, we're looking at coming in at $4,800. And that's more expensive than a lot of bikes that are out there, but there are some that are still more expensive, and most of those are not made in the US. They're not made with consulting you. You don't get an option to have a payment plan. They don't come with bags. My goal was to do all the heavy lifting, all the guesswork, all the trial and error that I've gone through over the course of 10 years trying this, and give you a bike that shows up at your door where if you wanted to go the next day and ride the Tour Divide, it's ready to go. We're working with people to do custom colors, custom frame bags, options that are really hard to find, especially now given the marketplace and the bull market that we've been having. I tell people, what's the value of being able to text the person who made my frame, who made my wheels, who made my bags? To me, there's an immense value there, and it's buying into a bike. Yes, it's buying into an experience, and I've come to learn it's buying into a family of people of shared values, and I'm really proud to offer that. And then, I haven't done this before. I had no intention of doing this. I was a park ranger for over a decade. I really wanted to build something that would let other people experience this. And to me, that's still what it's about. I've been a public land advocate, a steward. I see this as a tool to get you out and to experience these places. So a $500 deposit gets the ball rolling. If we get a ton of orders, at some point we have discussed with other US manufacturers how to make more frames than what Mark is able to do. He's a nuclear engineer during the day. Building bikes is just what he does on the side. With that $500 deposit, we will Skype Mark Hall and myself with you. If you're interested and you don't got the $500 to put down right now, I'm still happy to give you a call or a Skype or a Zoom or Facebook message or whatever. But that's how we get the ball rolling. These do take time. They are still semi-custom bikes, even though they're based off of a set geometry. My stays are 530. The bike that will be delivered to you would be 500, plus or minus 7 with the sliders in the back. My bike has hand-filed lugs. That is needlessly expensive, to be entirely honest, from a performance standpoint, and time-consuming. The bike that you will receive will be fillet brazed, still very high quality. The tubing will all be the same, 631 Reynolds with a mix of Columbus tubing.
There we go.
I appreciate new folks to the channel. I appreciate everybody else who's been following me and inspired me all these years. And when it comes down to it, my goal is to bring a performance dedicated expedition bike that's ethically produced, where every component manufacturer is involved in not only the build and the customers, but also the ethics we aspire to, and using cycling as a form of advocacy to get more people into the outdoors. Greetings, my friends. I'm Cameron Sanders. A lot of you know me as Renaissance Cyclist. I'm here at Red Shirt Cabin number 4 in Alaska, just south of where a lot of you...
Hey, what's up?
This is Mike.
Sorry.
I was expecting it.
Okay, bye.
Bye, I love you.